This is an SM Media production. Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham 2022. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Delighted as always to be joined by Calum McClurkin from the Scottish Daily Mail. Calum, how are we?
Yeah, all good. How are you?
Aye, all good. It's a bit news is kind of rubbish in it. It's just depressing everywhere you go in it. But just we're close to Christmas. We've got Boxing Day, the real Christmas storylines kick off in Boxing Day, don't they? That we've got something to look forward to because the news is very depressing at the moment, isn't it?
Oh yeah, at least you got racing to kind of keep you going. And the Kennel Gate this week's normally quite a good meeting at Ascot. King George round the corner, a lot of top Irish stuff, and all the big guns are starting to come out from the Willie Mullen stable as well. So it's beginning to take shape.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, obviously there's been a bit of kind of difficult news over the week in the racing front. We've obviously got the aftermath of the Robbie Dunne Bryony Frost case. We'll just explain what happened. Obviously, Robbie Dunne was found guilty of bullying and has been suspended for 18 months. I think 3 months are suspended, if I'm right. It's obviously one of these stories it's difficult to really talk about because we don't know fully what's happened, and obviously we've seen the reports and things like that, and a lot of more stuff's coming out. I don't know if you saw the Joe Davis stuff. That was particularly bad to see, but obviously what's your immediate kind of takeaways for this? It's not a good look for racing, is it? And I know we've said that a couple of times this year, but when you this is kind of the main sport you can think of where male and females compete with each other and against each other. This is the sort of thing we just can't have, is it?
No, it's not. Just found guilty. Anyone following the evidence, I don't think would be surprised by the verdict. I mean, I just think the weighing room is just a part of the problem in terms of the overall culture of things. Ultimately, there's been an individual that's been bullied at our workplace. You don't need to be a racing anorak to know what bullying is. So yeah, Dunne still could appeal. Don't know how that will be useful. You might think that the ban itself is a bit lengthy and a bit harsh. He's made an example of it. All we can hope is that the PGA code of conduct can be kind of intertwined a bit more with each age. Obviously, Frost didn't have confidence to really take her matters up with the PGA itself. So at least be some working together. Relationships need to be repaired between individuals and organisations, and to improve and make sure that this thing doesn't happen again, and that Frost gets all the support that she needs. She's still at the top of her game, so I don't believe that it's going to be affecting her that much. But yeah, she's certainly kind of been cut adrift a little bit by what's happened.
Yeah, it's just one of these things. I know you've kind of explained that when you wrote a really good column the other day in the Daily Mail about it as well, which it's just difficult to really say anything that has been said. I was watching the thing with Kevin Blake and Matt Chapman. They basically explained it excellent as well. It's one of these things we just can't have, and it's, as you say, it's bullying in the workplace. It's we've all probably seen it or heard about it in our lifetime. It's just one of these things that shouldn't happen and should be prevented in any way possible. But obviously, Bryony Frost, I mean, she's doing the best way to deal with it is just carry on with your work, and by God, she's doing it. She's getting great winners. She's just getting on with it, isn't she?
Yeah, 2 grade ones already this season in Grenadine and Frodon. Their partnership with Frodon is excellent. You know, I mean, a lot of the line of Dunne's defence was kind of against their kind of riding style and the room. I think that's dramatically improved over the years as well. Like the Secret Investor Week Clan, they all go in the Denman chase, how strong she is in a finish. Frodon at Down Royal, and they were all swamping him, and it comes out on top still. So, you know, she's very strong-willed. She's got a really good gig with Paul Nicholls as well. It's a number 2 by and large there. So she's still in a great position. And as long as this situation now is at the end, really, and rather than it keeps festering along, I think weighing room facilities could obviously be better for women as well.
Yeah.
Maybe the PGA and BHA can look into that with race courses and improve that. But you just got to take it step by step and gradually improve the culture of things, because it's hard to do all night. And society does that as well. I mean, cricket's had its problems with racism
Exactly,
and things like that. It's not the only sport that's trying to change in a positive way, but it does take time for these things to actually change and make a significant difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. But let's get into some fan questions. We obviously got a few fan questions this week. What Cheltenham Ante Post favourite at the moment are you most against in the market? I've got 3. How many you got?
Yeah, probably 3. Sir Gerhard and the Ballamore, I'm not convinced by. In terms of trip, you don't know. You could go back to 2 miles, for instance. That'd be the start. I haven't seen him yet. The other one would be Classical Dream in the Stairs Hurdle. He's a fragile sort, so he might not even get there, for instance. And I think he'll need soft ground, and a true staying test might be against him a little bit. And the third one's Blazin Khal and Albert Bartlett.
Okay.
I don't particularly rate him, to be honest. And I think there's others that might be better down the line in the future. I think he's way too short.
We'll get into Blazin Khal later on, because this is a horse we've agreed to disagree on. I agree with you on Classical Dream. I just think right now, I know he was so impressive at Punchestown, but we need to realise he was off for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
So again, as you see, he's fragile, and I think we could have maybe a stairs hurdle clue this week with the long walk. I'm against Easy's Land in the cross country. I don't understand how he's favourite. I really don't. I think he needs proper soft ground. Tiger Roll beat him comfortably last year. I think there's a couple of cross country horses who can maybe be entering the mix for that race. So yeah, I couldn't have Easy's Land as favourite. I'm with you on Sir Gerhard, just because I think now we're maybe looking at Kilcroot as maybe 2.5 miler. I think they've maybe get this wrong. I know I haven't seen Sir Gerhard, but when you watch back the bumper, I've watched a bit of Kilcroot last week. I've looked back in some videos. Kilcroot's one of the first off the bridle in the champion bumper, and stays on like nothing else. I think they've maybe got this wrong. I think they could maybe be going with Sir Gerhard for the Supreme and Kilcroot for the Ballymore.
They could do, and they could flip them around. I mean, it's certainly fluid plans at the moment with those two.
Yeah, there's not many sticking out otherwise. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, Echoes and Rain's favourite for the Mares Hurdle. She's not going to win the Mares Hurdle in my opinion. But there's nothing really else. I mean, a lot of the horses that are favourite probably deserve to be favourite at the moment. But again, it's another interesting one. We'll maybe have a change of that next week. What is your favourite race course to go to in the country?
Probably Musselburgh.
I like Musselburgh as well.
I do like the setup there, the wee enclosure and stuff. You can get in close, and then you can go around the back of the paddock. It's quite good. Probably Musselburgh.
Yeah, I like Musselburgh as well. I've been in Musselburgh a couple of times. I really enjoyed going there. Ayr as well. We're local course. It is nice. It is nice, especially when you know people there. We've got to give it a positive mention. I've been fortunate to go to Cheltenham once, so yeah, I'll say Cheltenham, because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in my life. It's just unbelievable. What was your favourite race course to go to? Please leave it in the comments as well. Final question: is there any word on when we could see Jerry Calum? I know this is a horse we're both interested in, but we haven't heard much of him, have we?
No, he's had come outside entries and then he's been taken out. So you do wonder if there has been a little bit of a setback with him, because Gordon Elliott's had practically all of his horses kind of flying along. It's apart from really him and Three Stripe Life, who I think want soft ground. I think they're kind of waiting to genuinely start them soft. It's not quite materialised yet, so they might be a little bit behind. But you certainly know Three Stripe Life is okay.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about. The silence in him is a bit disconcerting. Personally, he was one of the earmarked horses that I had for the Albert Bartlett. I thought he'd be an ideal type for that, but we can only wait and see. Yeah,
I mean, there was 2 horses at the start of the year in the Gordon Elliott stable I quite liked to follow, and it was Ginto and Jerry Calum. The prices kind of went in Ginto a bit, but Jerry Calum, again, these are 2 big purchases. He was very impressive for a bumper at the beginning of last year. It was maybe about January time. He looked really good. So yeah, I mean, there's a 3 mile maiden hurdle, I think, at Limerick round about Christmas time that you can maybe see him in, but I don't know. It'll be hard to say if we'll start him over that kind of distance. Again, there's same colours. Where's Journey with Me? We haven't seen him. I know he's been entered a couple of times, but you haven't seen him, and you're beginning to worry is there something wrong? Like, there's a few horses now that aren't coming out that you're thinking, what's up?
Yeah, ground. It's not been soft enough for them to start, and there's not a lot of meetings really before Christmas in Ireland to get them off the maiden tag. Willie Mullins is they're all queuing up behind trying to get a run at the moment, so it's tricky. It's tricky in that essence.
Yeah, I know, definitely. But if you have a question for next week's episode, please leave it in the comments below or messages on social media. But that was this week's questions. We'll move into the recap. Now, there's not a lot of horses compared to the past couple of weeks, but there's still a load of Cheltenham clues. We'll start on Thursday at Tremor. A nice horse won a maiden hurdle there called Guiley Billy for Henry de Bromhead. He was one of the famous Cheveley Part 3 that left Gordon Elliott's, obviously, that hadn't had a run yet. Won by 25 lengths. He was second in a run over hurdles a couple of weeks ago, but has now come out and really won by 25 lengths. He beat a nice horse of Willie Mullins as well. 25 to the Ballymore. I thought it was good. I thought it was a lot to take away from it, but I am looking maybe towards next year because I think he could be a proper good novice chaser.
Yeah, I think he looks like a chaser, doesn't he? He's improved big time from first run to second, where he was turned over at odds on.
Yeah,
he looked a lot better for that run. You'd imagine that he'd go into graded company next and see where he is at. See where he's at.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was really good as well. It sort of reminds you a wee bit of like maybe an Envoy Allen at that stage. Maybe wasn't not flashy, but just gets the job done. You can see he's got an engine. I quite like him. I think he could be one to watch for next year. Maybe even if he keeps a good handicap mark, it could be a Martin Pipe horse or something. I don't know, but I would definitely consider him for next year. Warwick, a nice horse called the Glancing Queen, who was obviously a good novice hurdler last year. She won a really nice Mares Novice Chase at Warwick. 12's now for the Mares Chase. I was impressed. I thought she jumped really well.
Yeah, she was impressive in Bangor as well. She was getting the hang of it. She had a good point-to-point background, so these Mares Chases look ideal for her. And given that race has kind of opened up a little bit, the Mares Chase, it might give her a chance. She's still got plenty to find in her official ratings, I think, but some of her form in behind's been franked recently, so she's probably a bit of a each way player.
Yeah, I thought I really liked her as well. She was a nice horse last year, but I just didn't fancy her for Cheltenham. I don't even know if she'll go to Cheltenham, but I mean, you can certainly take a lot of positives off her performance on Thursday. Friday, a couple to mention at Cheltenham. We'll start with Commodore, who was one of the best jumping displays I think you'll see all week. Absolutely excellent performance. Really unfancied, hadn't had a run, I think, for just over a year. I don't know if he's maybe a festival horse, but you can't help but be impressed with his performance on Friday.
Yeah, you get £10 penalty for that.
Aye.
No wonder. It's just classic Venetia Williams training of keeping the horse fresh for that assignment. From a long layoff, he does have his problems a little bit, and I think cutting the ground's probably quite important to him to keep him sound. So I don't think he's really one for the spring festivals, things like that. But maybe like some of these winter handicaps, he's capable of plundering if he can defy that mark. But once you get in a rhythm out front there, he's hard to stop.
Yeah, I thought it was really good as well. Just the jumping display, I just thought it was excellent from all round. I thought as well it was a good race. The cross-country handicap chase was won by Diesel Dahlia, who on that last time he was out at Cheltenham and he get beat, but he won here. Won by a nose to Potter's Corner. Plan of Attack was in third, who I think we both liked. I think this was quite a good race, actually. I think Diesel Dahlia is probably one of the ones I could maybe see for the cross-country. I think he could be one that's got scope to improve.
Yeah, the problem is it'll be out of handicap company and they'll be competing off levels and easiest land hold their form to their marks and they can't really get anywhere close to them on figures. Diesel Dahlia's good. He's gradually improving. He's got cross-country experience. He's getting more of it. And that really won him the day, I think. Potter's Corner ran with a lot of encouragement second. And Plan of Attack is just so slow around the banks and he just makes too many mistakes. And I think Darrell O'Keefe did really well to get him as close as he did. Balco de Flow's a little bit disappointing. Again, he was at the back of the Bromhead horse, Plan of Attack, and just a bit sluggish around the banks. And that'll probably need to be a bit better. But he has a lumbering top weight in these two of these, so I'd expect him to maybe reverse the form come spring when it's back off level.
Yeah, I mean, there's Diesel Dally. Yeah, I mean, 16-1 for the cross country. It's probably fair at the moment because obviously you've got Tiger Roll in there. That horse of Ender Bulgers is one I'm really keen on. He was very impressive a couple of weeks ago. Was it Shadow Operator or something?
Shady Operator.
Shady Operator, yeah. I mean, he could be one to keep an eye on. But yeah, I mean, the cross countries, obviously there's a lot to come of that. Tiger Roll, we don't really see the best of him, but obviously he comes alive at Cheltenham, Easy's Land. I just can't have him. Ajas as well. There's a couple of clues to take away for that race so far. Let's go on to Saturday in Cheltenham. It was a very busy day. We've got a lot to get through here. In terms of Sevilla, did in this World's form a really good boost with a nice win. So did the second of that race, one on Friday as well, I think at Doncaster. So yeah, nice display from him. 20-1 for the Triumph. It does this in this World form a boost, doesn't it? It is probably a positive if you're a backer of him.
It does. I think they're planning to take in this role to the Triumph graveyard that's called the Adonis Hurdle.
Can we just say to Dan Skelton, if you watch this show, don't do that. That's silly. Don't do that. You've seen what's happened. Don't run in this world in the Adonis.
I want Phil Doherty to win.
Aye, but yeah, it's insane.
In terms of Civil was good. In fairness, that form line's looking quite good. Paul Nicholls will probably have something for the Adonis as well,
Yeah.
So I mean, that's probably going to be your big British litmus test race for before the Triumph. The Adonis is a good race in its own right. I mean, you win it yourself, and that's fine. But in this world's forms getting boosted left, right, and centre. In terms of Civil, improved for that run and looked pretty professional.
Yeah, it did actually. Yeah,
went on a long way out. So you'd be entitled to take his chance in a Triumph at 20-25 to 1. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, as you say though, I mean, we've seen obviously Phil Dor kind of sets the standard, but that Triumph, there's not been a lot of kind of big horses out. Obviously, Willie's not sent any out yet. I don't know if that'll change at Christmas, but there must be a couple under the radar. And obviously, Bernard, who I was keen on for Joseph, as I've not heard anything to say, but I know there's a potential he lines up at Christmas in that Leopardstown hurdle. So again, that could be interesting to see what happens here because Phil Dor's going to Chepstow, isn't he?
Chepstow or Leopardstown, it depends what the ground is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one in this world. Porticello, slightly to a lesser extent. They're the ones that are come out early doors and normally get two waves of Triumph kind of horses and juveniles. You've got the early ones that set the standard, and then the ones that come at New Year basically, that you wouldn't see before. Like when Solo came out, things like that. Willie Mullins always has one that debuts in like February.
Yeah.
So, you just have to wait and see, because some of them just come really late.
Yeah, definitely. I know, but it's always an interesting market. My Drogo is 7-1 for the Turners, which was formerly the Mars. I didn't even know there was a name change in that. My Drogo, this is one of the two horses we've disagreed on this weekend. You were impressed. I just thought it was okay.
It was impressive enough, but I'm more impressed by the way he goes about things. Professional, not fussy. He looks the part. He does look a striking, good operator. He does have to jump better. I mean, he has this tendency to leave a trailing leg in now and again, but he's a novice and he's expected to improve for it, and he'll have to settle as well. He's one that I would imagine would like a bigger field to take a lead as well. I mean, that's two really great events where he's kind of had to make his own running and kind of borderline Mickey Mouse races. Really, he's made mistakes. Obviously that gives him scope to improve. I think. Will he beat Bob Ollinger? Not at the moment.
Aye, I think that's what it is with me as well. I just thought there's a couple of fences where he was leaving that trailing leg, and I'm thinking, that's going to lose you serious ground, and particularly like a race at the Mars with Bob Ollinger, like for example. It was fine. I think I was expecting a lot more because of the field. It wasn't a good field at all. JBY just isn't anywhere near that class. There isn't. It was okay. I've kind of came around to it in the past couple of days that it was maybe better than I first thought, but he has to jump better, particularly if he's, as you say, if he's going to get into a larger field. He's going to lose ground, particularly in fence like that, especially around Cheltenham. I know obviously the first time you can forgive that because it was a two-runner race and it was a bit of a Mickey Mouse race, as you say, but it was okay. I wouldn't say, I wasn't a massive fan of Bob Owens' first performance, but I thought it was better than that.
Yeah, did for last time. So, I mean, I think Dan Skelton's wary of that he wants to get runs into him. And he looks like a horse that will do that. He'll take in his racing, he's keen, but he's not, ridiculously fresh and free going like he is or All Mankind was. I mean, he does have a little bit of restraint and professionalism to him. So I'm hopeful that he can improve quite significantly for what he's done so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably that I would be surprised if they didn't go for this race. Obviously, the Arkle, I don't think he's got the speed for an Arkle. In the Brown Advisories, he's not. I don't think he would probably stay right now. So it's ideal probably journey for him to go for this race, isn't it?
Yeah, 2.5 miles does look his trip for now, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move into the Racing Post Coal Cup, which was won by Cool Cody. There's a lot to take away from this race. It was quite a competitive handicap. Cool Cody, though, did it well.
Yeah, at the front, no nonsense, no mistakes this time. His record's normally better on the old course than the new course, but he's just a consistent handicapper that's got his day, hasn't he? He's certainly deserved to win.
Is there any takeaways for that race, anything you could potentially be looking at for the future?
I'll just mark the race round Midnight Shadow, who ran his new mark, just entirely beyond them in third. He was solid. Old Zanza again in second, and he's still well handicapped.
It looks as if he's jumping better.
He did jump better that day.
Yeah.
Still mistakes out the back.
Aye.
The pace didn't hold up as much as it did last time, so a truer run race. It actually shapes up maybe that he wants 3 miles now, potentially. And Layla is a lot better fresh, it seems. Yeah,
definitely. But it was a good competitive handicap. We'll move into the Albert Bartlett trial. This is where we'll get into some interesting stuff here. Blazin Khal for Charles Burns. He's 5-1 favourite for the Bartlett. I thought it was good. I know he made the mistake 2 out, but the way he just get shaken up and just went on and just kept on well, I thought was very encouraging. Obviously, I know you're going to say he's won twice at the course. He's beat the same pool of horses. I get that, but that's what you want from an Albert Bartlett horse. You make a mistake, you pick up, and you keep on. I thought it was very encouraging. I wouldn't have 5-1's too short, but I thought it was good. I thought it's probably the best performance we've seen so far in that Steam division.
No, he can't jump. He did it. The second last wasn't his own mistake. He made a terrible one at the first circuit as well. He kind of, jumped as if it was a fence. The corkscrew in the air. And I mean, if you do that in Albert Bartlett in the second last, you'll lose.
That sounds weird. This is going to sound silly, but I thought it was good. But I don't think he won the Bartlett for some reason. I just don't. I think he's probably the right favourite, but
he's definitely the right favourite.
He's definitely the right favourite, but I don't think he won a Bartlett. But I thought it was probably the best performance we've seen so far in that division.
Couldn't help be impressed that when he did make that mistake, he did go hard on the bridle, and then get to the last, but they're still together in the last. And what is that form? It's rubbish. The second is a non-stayer who's running to get the trip and didn't get it. None of the rest have stayed. He just ran 3 miles, clattered a few hurdles, and now he's favourite for the Albert Bartlett, beating the same horses again that he did last time, a wee bit further. I'm no doubting that he's got an engine, and no doubt that he's probably a player, but 5-1 for a horse that basically can't jump and beating nothing. It's not for me. I think Ginto might be better. I think Hollow Games might be better. I think Gordon Elliott might have another one that's probably better. Haven't seen what Willie Mullins will have for the Bartlett. I just think it's exposed the British form in that division. It's not particularly good.
I mean, you can pick holes in it, of course you can. That Gelino Bello's not a 3 miler. I think we knew that at the time. I thought the horse, the one that looks like the Moran colours, I forget the name of it, but it's not Moran. I thought he would run better, to be fair.
He had no excuses. He'd the run of the race of a slow pace as well. But he's just not picked up. But even then, when he made the mistakes, everyone else kind of found lengths and he just fell at a hole. But if you've got a talented horse that will maintain the gallop and stay there, it would ask a completely different question of Blazin Khal, but because of the poor quality of opposition, he's been made to look, a bit of a world beater when I don't believe that that's the case.
It's interesting to see where he goes next. I don't know. Is there many options for him next between now and the Bartlett?
Probably not at Cheltenham. I think he could probably be, I think he's had 2 quick runs now, so I'd imagine they'd be put away for a little bit and then have won before going to the Albert Bartlett. But he's a guaranteed runner. He has a high rating, so he's entitled to be up there in the market, but he's certainly not for me.
We'll move into the international hurdle now. Before that, you've said there about the competitive nature of races. Now, the international hurdle should be a competitive champion hurdle trial. I remember years ago when the likes of the new one, I know I sound like an old man here, but the new one was winning this and getting into second favourite for the champion hurdle. This was arguably one of the weakest champion hurdle trials I think I've ever seen. Guards of Dreams won it. I know he's honest enough. 50-1 for the champion hurdle. It just shows you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it probably shows the quality of the division. I mean, Honeysuckle will be scaring everyone off, and even your Grade 1 kind of horses like Epitone not really improving on evidence. So you do have a bunch of horses at Grade 2 level that are either trying their arm at it to get at Grade 2, like Guard of Dreams has done, and he ran okay in the last Cheltenham Festival in a handicap, didn't he?
Yeah.
He is probably steadily improving, but it was a bit of a stamina test, and it was a good ride from Sam Twist and Davis.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've got to give credit to him.
To win, I think So Royals probably had one run too many. Newcastle's a grueling run behind Epitone. That's probably, and he still travelled into it like the class act though in the race. Unlike Song for Someone who travelled bizarrely, really, didn't look like he was enjoying it at all, and then stayed on and almost nicked it. Heaven Help Us was a bit disappointing for the
Ballyadam went out a light.
Ballyadam travelled really well and found nothing. It's a bit disconcerting for him. Maybe there was a win thing there.
Yeah.
They weren't done well, and you can't really go anywhere else, can you? You might as well try your hand at. He also gets 2.5 miles, so maybe the Grade 1 at Aintree will be more his cup of tea than a champion hurdle. Yeah,
but I mean, Guards of Dreams, give Sam Twist and Davis full credit. It was a terrific ride, but I don't think we're seeing the champion hurdle winner out of that race. But again, Guards of Dreams, it's nice to see him winning those type of races. But Doncaster, a couple of horses to mention on Saturday. 3 under through 5 is now into 10-1 for the National Hunt Chase. He won a Grade 2 over 3 miles. If there's a horse that's tailor-made for the National Hunt Chase, I think we're looking at it here. He'll stay on and stay on.
Yeah, he hasn't beaten much, so is he there?
He's not. He should be 10-1. There's a horse that's shorter that's a lot better. I would agree.
Yeah, I think there's probably 2. I think Statland Run Wilfred are probably better. I think they have a bit of class about them. He blows jaw and he's pretty accurate. He's safe. He's jumping. Looked in a bit of trouble. He wasn't travelling the greatest. Come towards the end, but he's just outstayed them quite comfortably. He's entitled to go there. He has an each-way chance.
Yeah, I mean, it was good as well. He's run a lot, but he's not beat a lot. I know beat him relatively comfortably, and then he went out and reversed the form. He's not my cup of tea at all. I think he's going to stay on, but I just think a horse like last year.
The positive is he's getting runs into his belt.
I think, do you need 4 to qualify for that race today? Yeah.
He needs some experience, yeah.
I mean, he looks tailor-made for this, and going to a National Hunt Chase, and then maybe next year a Grand National. I can see that being the plan with him, but it wouldn't be for me at this point. Knight Salute for Milton Harris won the Grade 2 juvenile hurdle at Doncaster, beating Porticello quite well, actually. I thought it was impressive. I fancied this horse at Cheltenham the last time when he beat Magistrato. He's 12-1 for the Triumph. I don't know if that's maybe too short, but you can't help but encouraged with that performance.
He's steadily improving. He can only do what he's doing. Pick them off again from the pace. Good ground seems important to him. I think the ground went against the winner. I think he preferred it, the second, Porticello. I think he preferred it soft.
Yeah.
Also, you get a bad ride from the front. He should have been a bit more aggressive to make it more of a stamina test. An impulsive one in third came back from a wind up from a little bit of a break and shaped quite well.
Yeah, he looked as if he was getting there.
His mark of 127 the Poodles would be. I mean, he might be a Fred Winter player for Nicky Henderson. So that's kind of what I took out of it. I was a bit disappointed that Porticello couldn't win though. As for the winner night salute, he's certainly entitled to go for the triumph now. He's marked too high, so he's an each way player, and he's got this kind of quiet professional attitude that you kind of like in a juvenile. You know, he's pretty straightforward. He looks quite accomplished. He has probably an outside squeak, but probably doesn't have the class of a few at the top of the mark at the moment.
Aye, I mean, there's a lot of positives to take out of it. I thought as well, I did agree with you. I thought Porticello maybe just wanted it a bit softer, but I think Porticello is maybe the one I would say is more triumph, maybe than is more kind of aimed at the triumph hurdle. I think he's potentially the best one out of this, but night salute, you couldn't argue with how well he did. Paul Townend, the champion jockey in Ireland, returned well at Fairyhouse with a treble. He started on Blue Lords. You love this horse as a novice hurdler. He could potentially be a very good chaser. 20s for the Arkle. I thought this was really good. It was a good start for Townend to come back to.
Yeah, good start. He was pretty polished, won by 6.5 lengths, no real mistakes. And I think he might be a better chaser than a hurdler. And he wasn't far off the top, hurdling wise. He was going to be second in the Supreme before he fell. 21 for the Arkle. Doesn't look bad.
No, I was very encouraged as well. Willie Mullins could have a lot of good horses for that Arkle as well. You've seen, I've obviously appreciate it still to come out fairly hollow. Blue Lord's there, he could have a couple more. He does have like Blue Lord. He's entitled to maybe be in that conversation for that. Obviously, he was going to finish second in Supreme. There's a lot of time being encouraged about a Blue Lord, I would say.
Definitely, yeah. The imagine we go for the Racing Post Novices trophy. The imagine go for that at Christmas, and that will reveal a lot more. But it's one that's got out. I mean, fairly hollow. Appreciate it. You'll probably get more kind of stardust to their name, but they'll have to jump well like he does to confirm that form. So I wouldn't put anyone off 21 for the Arkle. I think it's an okay bet.
Yeah, I mean, they're very encouraging. A horse, probably this was one of the performances of the weekend, in my opinion. I was really impressed with this. Statler was very, very good. Won the beginner's chase in very, very good fashion. 6-1 for the National Hunt Chase. Could I put it to you that he could potentially be good enough to be a Brown Advisory horse?
He could be, because he showed gears, didn't he?
Yeah.
Quick and win like that. And he always promised to be a better chaser than a hurdler.
Yeah. He jumped a fence beautifully.
That seems to be the case. So I think maybe a bit of, if it was soft ground, I would probably go 3 miler at the moment. It's just if Gallop and Deschamps is as good as they think, then they probably will end up dodging each other or something like that. And Willie Mullins doesn't have anything else apart from on the ropes. It looks obvious for the National Hunt Chase at the moment. So, and
you've got that wee X factor as well. Patrick Mullins likes to pick the horse, and I think he could be a fan of this one.
He'd certainly be the one. The owners won it with Galvin, so
yeah,
you kind of know he's going to tick most of the boxes there. A very encouraging start.
Yeah, I was very encouraged. I thought this was one of the performances of the weekend. Garde So, I know I was keen to see him. He was one of my 10 to follow. He went out like a light. He just didn't jump well enough. You wonder if he maybe improved for that, but he just didn't do it for me that day.
Bit disappointing. It did look entirely straightforward to me. Just a bit reluctant under pressure, I thought.
Aye, I mean, yeah, I would agree with that. I just maybe keeping his mark for a Kim or something, but nah, I just went out like a light, and you hope he jumps better next time. Monday in Plumpton, For Pleasure beat Nasalam, who was obviously a Grade 2 winner a few weeks ago. 33-1 for the Arkle. The reason we're mentioning this, obviously, is the winner of that race at Plumpton can, if he goes for a race at Cheltenham and wins it, they could be entitled to bonuses for the stable staff, which would be brilliant to see. But For Pleasure's an interesting one, because if he ran in an Arkle, he would dictate the pace.
He could do. He put Nasalam under pressure. He jumped pretty awkwardly and had a decent weight pool. He was third last time at Edwardstone as well, which gives his form a little bit of a boost. He was a Grade 2 winning hurdler last year as a novice, so he's improved. He's at par, but there are classier horses he's going to bump into, and if he's going to win something at Cheltenham Festival, then probably looking at a Grand Annual or something like that. probably be the handicap part.
He's quite keen, isn't he? That might be an understatement.
He is, yeah. Plumpton, plays his strengths in that way. But he was a great price in the day. 5-2, he beat Naslam, who won that Grade 2 race by 2 rivals really kind of coming to grief. So it was a good performance. And again, he's another pace angle to. I mean, third time lucky is an obvious pace angle.
Yeah.
To the Arkle as well. So you're thinking that if it's going to be strongly run anyway, if he goes, or if third time lucky goes.
And that was pretty much our recap for this week. Is there any other horses we've missed out?
Nope, no thanks.
Nothing. All good. That was our recap for this week. We'll take a look at what's coming up, and it's getting on the road to Christmas, isn't it? We've got another weekend before it all goes towards Kempton, Leopardstown, Limerick. We've got a busy weekend ahead next weekend, but there is still action. There is still racing coming ahead this week. Thursday, there is a beginner's chase at Naas, which we could see potentially. I don't think all 3 of these will turn up, but I think maybe one will. Galloping Deschamps, Gaillard du Mesnil, and Jungle Boogie. 3 horses on our radar. Galloping Deschamps, he is one I think we're both wanting to see, and I think this could be probably the ideal target.
It looks an ideal trip, doesn't it? Intermediate trip, you kind of know where you're going to go, and as long as it's in the soft side, he'd probably turn up. So I'm looking forward to him out the most. Hopefully he runs and takes his chance. Yeah,
I'm keen to see how this goes. I think it might be just in the slow side for Gaillard du Mesnil, so I think they maybe aim a beginner's chase, maybe over further. Jungle Boogie, he's one I think that could potentially go over hurdles and fences, because I think he's got a healthy mark over hurdles, and I think they want to send him novice chasing, so he could be one to keep an eye on. But yeah, it's all about Galloping Deschamps. If he goes, I think 5-1 might not be there, because I think he could be probably the best out the bunch. Friday at Ascot, we could potentially see 2 superstars in the making. John Bond has entered in the Kennel Gate, and Bob Ollinger has entered in the novice chase. Are they both going to go, do we think?
Yeah, Bob Ollinger had this kind of entry, didn't he, last week?
I thought it was weird, wasn't
it? I wonder if this is the same kind of thing. It might be. It seems soft ground at Ascot, so he might turn up. Probably unlikely though, I'd imagine.
John Bond has entered in the Kennel Gate. That could be a potentially good race. You've got the likes of Napas Hill in there, and Ellie Bell are entered. I don't know if both of them will turn up, but if John Bond does go for that and they both go, that could be a good test for him.
Yeah, I like to move it as well as race. So yeah, I mean, there's certainly going to reveal a lot more. Not the most daunting of Grade 2s, but Ellie Bell's good. It's going to be an interesting race if they all turn up.
Yep, I think that could be a good week, a good Friday for us as well. Saturday we have obviously the long walk hurdle, and this could be a big challenge for the Stairs hurdle. You've got potentially Buzz, Time Hill, and Champ seems to be taking up his entry. That could be a good race.
Yeah, it's going to stay in the soft side, so that's a plus for Champ. You might go back over fences after this, or not. I'm not really sure what to expect with him.
Probably the ideal target just to bring him out, and even if they're not going to go that hurdle route, it's probably a good starting position just to see how he is.
Yeah, it's better than giving him a 2-mile fencing run out a month before a Gold Cup, isn't it? And that's probably a better starting point. At least they're getting him out and test his back, and hopefully things are okay, and it'll be a little bit easier over hurdles than it is fences. So it's a reasonable starting point for him. Buzz's favourite, maybe if you forgive Time Hill's run in France, and he should be favourite really, because you know he's going to stay.
Yeah.
So I probably lean towards Time Hill over Buzz at the moment.
I am leaning towards Time Hill, which we might see later on. But yeah, I mean, that could be a good race. It's obviously going to be a Grade 1. Time Hill, you know he's going to stay. Yeah, I think I'm going with Time Hill. Champ will be interesting as well, but yeah, Time Hill for me. We've got the Silver Cup on Saturday as well, and there's a big gamble on here, which I've just seen. Bellamy de Picton for Venetia Williams looks as if he's going. He could be ridiculously well handicap off 135.
Venetia Williams, soft ground, 3-mile handicaps.
Yeah.
All you need to know.
Yeah.
Hence the plunge.
There's a horse that's 7-1 who's going to be 14 in January called Regal Encore. Now, if you've got a horse who has, I mean, JP McManus must have just had many good days out with him, but how good is it to see a 13-year-old going, potentially taking his chance in a race last?
It's nice to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing if he ran in a Grand National again or something like that. Yeah, it's just an admirable, consistent horse. It jumps kind of all about where you see all these kind of favourites going into double figures in age, 10, 11, 12, 13, go as long as they can. And if they still have the enthusiasm for the game, then it's great to see.
Yeah, definitely. I would say anything in that race, is it that the favourite that's screaming out to you? Because it's screaming out to me at that price. Bellamy to picked on. Grand Santi as well was a horse that's maybe not achieved as much as you thought he would.
Yeah, just plenty in there. I mean, Storm Control's a soft ground as well, and he's one that's not bad at a price. So yeah, but I'll just wait till the day and see what you get and get better terms and maybe better places.
Yeah, you've got the Betfair Exchange Trophy as well at 335. This is obviously a handicap hurdle. Westcourt could be interesting.
Yeah, won the Greatwood off a big break. He's in a workable mark. No Ordinary Joe as well, shaped quite well in that race. He's probably got one of these in him for sure.
Goshen's entered as well. I don't know if he'll go, but
who cares? Samurai looks talented for Paul Nichols as well. One more for the roads as well. It's a good winning run.
Aye.
So hot race.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting weekend as well before Christmas. Are we before we get into our Ante Post Picks, have we any early Christmas fancies? Just off the top of your head, I know I sprung this on you a wee bit, but
no, not really. Probably Clandale for the King George at the moment, I would say. Apart from obviously Sharjah for the Matteson Hurdle, those are probably the two that you'd be focusing on, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it's early days, isn't it? But obviously the Christmas, we're getting there early. We're going to have a special Christmas preview episode on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. We'll dissect every race, every big race over the Christmas period. But obviously that we'll move in now to our Ante Post Pick. We'll take a look at our Ante Post Picks so far. We've obviously made quite a few. You're still kind of keen in the Faldor one. That's probably your highlight one so far. Is he probably the captain of the ship just now?
Probably, given he's the one that's shorting a little bit. Not really seen much of the rest, so but they're all still there pitching. So you can only wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's Faldor probably looks the one for you. None of mine have really stood out so far, but we've got another week. We've got another pick each. We are going to start with Calum. What is your Ante Post pick for this week's show?
It's What Do You Want in the Ballymore Novices Hurdle at 25-1. I thought this horse he wasn't kind of visually striking on his hurdling debut, but the way he picked up two rivals and finding for pressure was impressive enough for me. It was in that Navan car where Gordon Elliott won everything else that day. He won the opener, and his bumper defeat of Ginto reads particularly good form for 2.5 miles now. He seems quite versatile. He looks like he could get further, but he's not short of speed, which is kind of what you want in a Ballymore horse. But the appeal for me is that not really seen Sir Gerhard yet, and I think we've seen more kind of 2 milers and 3 milers, and we've not really seen a horse that you could probably nail down as a Ballymore horse in an intermediate trip. Now, the owners of this horse sponsor the race, and one at City Island, for instance. I mean, they've won it before. They do have decent high-profile horses that tend to run in it. So, and Willie Mullins has admitted, that they're going to work back from the Ballymore. So, he's a decent horse. Is there something classier at the top table? Probably is. But at 25-1 right now, he'll go for a graded race over Christmas.
I think he's going for the Laws of Nace, am I right?
Yeah, that again, that's a 2 mile 4 one.
Yeah, I think I heard that. I think Wally was talking about that in Sporting Life.
Down, so he's going to stay to that trip, and the Ballymore's a big target at the end, and you're getting 25-1, so it's almost a guaranteed runner in that sense. Yeah,
I mean, I certainly had him on my radar as well, especially that defeat of Ginto, and he's been out to frank the form since. So yeah, I mean, it's a really encouraging pick for you. 25-1 you know they're going to target this race because of the owners, so that's a positive step as well.
Yeah, that's probably the main kind of attraction of that, rather than his bare form. But he does have, he is a decent Grade 2 kind of operator at least, and he might be able to make the step up when Willie Mullins is targeting this race, and they've won it with City Island before, when Martin Bressel was training, and they've had a couple of other good ones that have just been beaten in it. So I think there's enough to like, and there's enough juice in the price as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A great pick for you. I think we're establishing early on in this series that you're going to be the one taking risks, and I'm just going to be the one going shorter, because I'm going for a 7-1 pick, but I hope the 7-1 isn't there next week. Time Hill went ridiculously out in the market in the Stairs Hurdle, and I think he could come back in on Saturday. It's a massive day on Saturday for him. I think you can forgive that run in France. Now, I'm going to explain why. I know it's probably been spoke about many times, but the hurdles in France are a lot harder to jump than the ones in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it was really, really deep, tacky ground that day. He obviously didn't run brilliant. I'm not saying that at all, but he's better than that. You saw last year in that Aintree, he bounced back beautifully. You can see he's a Stairs Hurdle horse all over him. I just think the now 7-1's big, and I would have more trust in him than I would in Buzz for the long walk. I think Time Hill is a lot better kind of evidence to say, yeah, I would back him more than I would back Buzz. I am going for Time Hill at 7-1 for the Stairs Hurdle. I just think he's probably too high in the betting just now, but I think if he wins the long walk, even if he wins it in a dog fight, he won't be 7-1. So I think it's a good price to eat into this week.
Yeah, fair enough. He is a proven stayer, really, there, and the proven class act of the field in that instance. It's whether he bounces back or not. It's a good point to make with the French hurdles. They're kind of more like fences, and
yeah,
I do think that when he,
I just think he wasn't travelling well at any point in that race, and I think the first one gave him a fright, if that makes sense. Like you could see, just at every hurdle he didn't jump it well.
Like the birch in him.
No.
Part of the birch, I don't think like that. When there's the hurdles, you can just flick over them and don't really feel anything. But yeah, I didn't think I like that. It was a bit of a culture shock, and they went there to chase Surprise Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it turned into a bit of a swamp and a mess. And I think you can safely write that off. Probably he missed Cheltenham last year. I think he does have some fragilities about him, not to the extent of Classical Dream, but
yeah.
He also wouldn't want bottomless ground, but he has proven the trip. Buzz isn't, so, and he's a Grade 1 winner at that level at that trip. So yeah, you probably have to side with him over Buzz for now at the same prices anyway.
Yeah, I mean, but Time Hill for me, I think he'll win on Saturday, so I'm going to go for him for the Stairs Hurdle. We are going to wrap up the show there. It's been an absolute pleasure as always to do this show. We announced it earlier, but we're going to do it. We're going to do a special Cheltenham. We're going to special Christmas Thursday show where we're going to look at the big races coming up over Christmas. It's going to be a busy show, isn't it, next week?
Yeah, really busy. It's going to be probably the second best period before Cheltenham actually happens is a Christmas rush. So it's very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, fingers crossed it's on as well, because the news changes every day, especially in the sporting world. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a busy show. We're looking forward to that. If you have a question for us, please put it in the comments below and messages on social media. Also as well, thank you very much to Calum. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thanks again.
Brilliant. Thanks very much to everyone who's tuned in. Please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels and follow us on social media for consistent National Hunt racing content. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.